Let me ask you something that sounds very simple, but can completely change the way you see the world. If money can be printed, why are people still poor? Why don't governments simply create more money and solve all economic problems? Why do some countries feel rich while others struggle, even when everyone is using something called money? At first, it seems like an easy solution. If people don't have enough money, just give them more. If a country is in debt, print more money. If prices are too high, increase salaries. Everything sounds logical. But the reality is very different, because money itself is not wealth. And this is where most people get confused. Money is only a tool. It is a representation of value, not value itself. Think about it carefully. You cannot eat money. You cannot build a house with money alone. You cannot survive with money if there are no goods, no services, no production. Money only works when there is something behind it. Let's imagine a small town. In this town, there are 5 people and 5 loaves of bread. Each person has enough money to buy 1 loaf. Everything is balanced. Everyone eats, everyone survives. Now imagine something changes. The government decides to help everyone by giving each person more money. Suddenly, everyone feels richer. They have more cash in their hands. But here's the problem. The number of loaves of bread has not changed. Now, instead of buying 1 loaf, people want to buy 2. But there are still only 5 loaves. So what happens? Competition increases. People are willing to pay more to get what they want. And when demand increases, but supply stays the same, prices go up. Suddenly, the price of bread doubles. Now each person still ends up with 1 loaf, but they pay more for it. Nothing has improved. The illusion of wealth disappears. This is inflation. Inflation is one of the most important forces in the economy. It slowly reduces the value of money, and when it becomes extreme, it destroys economies. But inflation is not just about numbers. It is about trust. When people see prices rising too fast, they lose confidence in the currency. They stop saving it. They try to spend it quickly. They look for alternatives. And when trust disappears, the entire system becomes unstable. This has happened many times in history. There were moments when people needed bags full of money just to buy basic food. Not because food became rare, but because money became almost useless. Think about that. A system where money exists, but no longer works. Where numbers increase, but value disappears. That is the danger of misunderstanding money. Now let's go deeper. Why do some currencies feel stronger than others? Why does $1 feel powerful in some countries, but weak in others? Why can the same amount of money give you comfort in one place and struggle in another? The answer is not in the money itself. It is in the system behind it. A currency reflects the strength of an economy. When a country produces a lot, exports goods, has stable institutions, and attracts investors, its currency becomes strong. People want it. They trust it. They use it. But when a country struggles, when there is instability, corruption, poor management, or economic crisis, people lose confidence. They avoid the currency, and its value falls. So the real question is not how much money exists, but how much value is being created. Now let's talk about something many people don't understand: interest rates. Interest rates are like invisible forces that move money across the world. When a country offers higher interest rates, it becomes attractive for investors. People want to invest their money there to earn more. But to invest, they need the local currency. So they buy it. And when demand increases, the currency becomes stronger. But again, nothing is simple, because high interest rates also create problems. Borrowing becomes expensive, businesses slow down, people stop investing, growth can decrease. So every economic decision is a balance. There is no perfect solution, only trade-offs. Now let's explore another powerful force: global trade. When a country exports goods, other countries need its currency to buy those goods. This increases demand for the currency. That's why export-driven economies often have strong currencies. On the other hand, if a country imports more than it exports, it needs foreign currencies. This can weaken its own currency. This is why some countries try to control their currency value. They may keep it slightly lower to make their products cheaper for the world. This helps them grow faster. So, surprisingly, a weaker currency can sometimes be a strategy. Now let me ask you another question. Why don't all countries use the same currency? It sounds like a perfect idea. No exchange rates, no confusion, no differences. One world, one money. But in reality, it would be extremely dangerous. Because countries are different. They grow at different speeds. They face different challenges. If one country makes a mistake, it could affect everyone. We already see this in regions that share a currency. When one country faces a crisis, others feel the impact. Now imagine that on a global scale. That's why currencies are separate. Not because it's inefficient, but because it protects economies from each other. And now, let's go even deeper into something psychological. Money is not just an economic tool, it is also a psychological tool. When people feel rich, they spend more. When they feel poor, they hold back. When they trust the future, they invest. When they fear the future, they save or panic. So money is deeply connected to human behavior. And this is why managing an economy is not just about numbers. It is about understanding people. Now, let's step into reality. Not theory, not imagination, but real events that have already happened. Because everything we are talking about is not just an idea. It has happened before, many times, in different countries. Let's begin with one of the most striking examples in history, a country where money completely lost its meaning. Imagine waking up in the morning, going to the market, and seeing prices double within a few hours. Not days, not weeks, just hours. Imagine carrying bags full of cash just to buy something as simple as bread. This is not a story. This was real life. There was a time when people were paid multiple times a day, not because they were earning more, but because their money was losing value so fast that waiting even a few hours meant losing purchasing power. People would rush from work to the store immediately after receiving their salary, trying to spend their money before it became worthless. Now think about that for a second. Money was still there, numbers were still increasing, but value was disappearing. This is what happens when a system breaks, and it doesn't start suddenly, it starts slowly. Small decisions, small mistakes, a little more money printed here, a little more spending there, and then, one day, everything collapses. Another example comes from a different country, with a different story, but the same ending. Imagine a country rich in natural resources, a country that once had strong income and opportunities. But instead of building a balanced economy, it became dependent on one single source of wealth. At first, everything looked perfect. Money was flowing, people were supported, prices were controlled. Life felt easy. But then something changed. That single source of wealth started to decline. Income dropped. Problems appeared. Now the government faced a difficult choice: reduce spending and face public dissatisfaction, or continue spending by printing more money. They chose the second option. At first, it worked. People still received support. The system seemed stable. But behind the scenes, something dangerous was growing. More money, same production. And slowly, the same pattern appeared. Prices rising, confidence falling, people losing trust. Until one day, the currency became so weak that people no longer believed in it. Money was still printed, but it was no longer respected. And this is something very important to understand. A currency does not collapse because there is no paper. It collapses because there is no trust. Now let's go even deeper into the mindset behind these decisions. Why do governments print money, even when the risks are known? Because in the short term, it feels like a solution. When people are struggling, printing money creates the illusion of relief. It gives immediate results. Salaries can be paid, debts can be covered. The economy seems active. But this is like putting a temporary mask over a deeper problem. Because if production does not increase, if value is not created, then the system becomes unbalanced, and eventually, reality catches up. Now let me challenge another idea. Many people believe that having more money automatically means being richer. But this is not true. Being rich is not about how much money you have. It is about what your money can buy. If you have millions but cannot buy basic goods, you are not rich. If prices increase faster than your income, you are becoming poorer, even if your salary increases. This is why inflation is so dangerous. It quietly reduces your purchasing power without you realizing it immediately, and over time, it changes your life. Now let's connect everything. Currency value is not random. It is not decided by chance. It is the result of multiple forces working together. Production, trust, stability, demand, policy, behavior. When these elements are strong, the currency is strong. When they weaken, the currency weakens. Now let's talk about something even more subtle: confidence. Confidence is invisible, but it controls everything. When people believe in the future of an economy, they invest, they build, they grow. When they lose confidence, they withdraw, they stop investing, they protect themselves. And this behavior directly affects the value of money. Because money is not just numbers, it is a reflection of collective belief. Now imagine a world where everyone suddenly loses confidence in a currency. People would rush to exchange it, prices would rise, panic would spread, and just like that, a stable system could collapse. That's how fragile money really is. Now let's return to a question we asked earlier. Why don't we just create one global currency? Because the world is not balanced. Some countries grow faster, some face crises. Some are stable, others are not. If everyone shared the same currency, one country's mistake could affect the entire world. And that risk is too big. So instead, the world operates with multiple currencies, each reflecting its own economy. And now, let me tell you something that might change your perspective completely. A strong currency is not always the goal. Some countries intentionally keep their currency weaker to make their products cheaper globally. This increases exports, creates jobs, and boosts growth. So the goal is not strength. The goal is balance. Balance between growth and stability, between production and consumption, between confidence and control. Now, let's slow down for a moment. Take everything we've discussed and look at money differently. Money is not just something you earn and spend. It is a system influenced by human decisions, political choices, global interactions, and psychological behavior. And once you understand this, you stop seeing money as something simple. You start seeing it as something powerful and fragile. So here is the truth. Money does not make a country rich. Printing money does not create wealth. Numbers do not define value. Real wealth comes from production, from innovation, from stability, from trust. You can print money, but you cannot print food. You can print money, but you cannot print skills. You can print money, but you cannot print real value. And this is why some countries rise, while others fall. Because in the end, money is not the foundation of an economy, value is. And the moment you understand that, you stop chasing money blindly. You start understanding how the world really works.